One thing I love most about working at Google is every day the opportunity is endless. Like the opportunities that you get to grow your career is just endless. I applied to all my applications to Google will probably take about 30 of them, yeah, before I eventually got it. So, I mean, using mine as a template might work for a number of people because if I had it hard or tough and you can kind of learn from my experiences, you probably would have it easy. And one thing I used to tell people is right now, as we are now, the tech industry is the one with the lowest barrier of entry for anyone from other fields to come in and also be in tech.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for watching my YouTube channel again. I have a very special guest today. We were just talking before recording that it took some time to fix things. So I'm personally excited about this episode because I'm just here to just listen to learn myself as well. So let me do you the honors for introducing yourself and let us get to know you.
Okay, thanks so much for having me. Hello, viewers, and I hope you are all keeping well. My name is Sadiq. My name is Sadeeq Akintola. So, I'm a data analytics specialist. Yeah, so basically what I do is I try to do a number of things around data. My background is computer science. I would say if you allow me to start from my early journey, I studied computer science from Sadeeq Akintola University of Technology, Lautech. And after my graduation, obviously that is a CS background, so it's kind of natural for me to progress in a kind of CS journey. So I decided to, after my service year, I decided to start working as a software developer. So I worked at a software development firm in Lagos, and then before moving to other, firms which has to do with software development. So my role has been around software development until a time when I got to start interacting with data and, curiosity, which oftentimes kills cats. Thankfully, it didn't kill me. Led me towards
Yeah.
working in the data industry. So that's where I fell in love with, working with data. And I decided to do a more deeper dive into the world of data. So in 2017, I decided to go for a master's degree in data science and advanced analytics. So that was my real, onboarding into data. I mean, a bit of background around there. So I used to work as a software engineer at FMDQ. And if you know FMDQ, it's like the London Stock Exchange for Nigeria. So it's a firm that has the license to look over the fixed income and currency market of Nigeria. So what we do in a nutshell is we have visibility over the market, and that means a lot of data. As a software developer working in that firm, building solutions, my responsibility was to get data from different systems like Thomson Reuters and Bloomberg. So that means, working and building data pipelines, which I don't even call myself a data engineer at that time. I just know I was doing my job extracting data from different sources. After that stint, I felt kind of curious about, what more can we do with this data? And that led me not to do like some short certificate courses around data because now I was kind of data aware. I think I wanted more than just, certificate courses. So I decided to transition using a data related master's degree. So that was how I traveled for my master's degree in Portugal. So and yeah, that was how I kind of the journey started and continued. I'm sure in the course of the interview we'll get more into more details around that.
Really nice, really nice. Thank you so much for giving us that. I'm actually quite excited how you build on your journey into data, which is sort of where we would get to. Let's start from the interesting part. You work at Google. That alone, I think, for a lot of people is impressive. For me, it is very impressive. So, on your LinkedIn, you are a smart analytics customer engineer. Can you tell me
Yeah.
what that is about? When I was reading through your CV, I was like, this is impressive. But maybe we just start from there. What's that about? What do you do?
Okay, so that role, even it's a very long name. I think I or people in my category have kind of the longest names in terms of job names at Google. So actually, that was how my role was advertised: Smart Analytics Customer Engineer. So if you go on maybe Glassdoor or any other kind of job site, that's what you would see as like kind of an advert. And one thing I would want to say before I even go into what I do is one thing I want your viewers to know is the fact that there are some companies, it's the way they advertise what they do is the way you would accept them. So if
Mm,
you're, and that will come a little bit clearer in my answer to what I do. If you're a data analyst, a small company can decide to call the role a data analyst because they want people to know exactly what they do. But for a big company, they may decide that this is what we believe this role entails, and this is what we will call the role. Whoever is out there would have to adhere to what the role is called, and then kind of adhere to how you kind of prepare to join the roles. While there may not be so many smart analytics, customer engineering role outside there or outside of Google, I would say that it's a clearly defined role. So now let me go into it. So it contains two important parts. There is one that is customer engineer. Even at Google, if you go to Google site, career site, you would see advertisement for customer engineer. So a lot of people that interact with customers, while in some organizations you may see this as like maybe sales engineer or customer expert experience or something around customer, what we define it as at Google is customer engineer, which is an engineer who has some good background with the technical abilities and also is able to interface with customers. So there are some internal engineers at Google. You don't do customer, you are not outward facing. So for those outward facing folks, those are the customer engineers, especially those who relate directly with the customers. Now, there are some people that their role is just customer engineers and that's it because they are just meant to interact with customers. But there are some people that they
mm,
also have specialty. For people like me, we've got like some people are security specialists. They are like security specialist customer engineer. Some people are networking, some people are other roles. But for me, it's about analytics. I mean, it suffices if we call it like data analytics specialist. I
mm.
mean, at Google, we believe that there's so much more with analytics than just, data analytics because there's some, even on the platform, there are some analytics that you would do leveraging your analytics knowledge. But I would say that broadly, it is the end to end of data analytics in a smart way. So it's a combination of, data analysis, data engineering, machine learning, AI, generative AI, and a lot of those things come together in one single person who is an expert in virtually all these areas and then interfacing with customers. That's why it's called smart analytics customer engineer.
Wow, that looks like a lot of explanation for that kind of role. Let's talk about Google itself. I'm sure you would not mind me asking a lot of questions about Google because it's like a dream destination for a lot of folks like me and a lot of people who probably watch this. What do you like
Sure.
most? What you've been there for some time now. What has you kind of enjoyed the most being at Google?
One thing I love most about working at Google is every day the opportunity is endless. The opportunities that you get to grow your career is just endless. You will just wake up one day and without soliciting in your inbox, there's an opportunity to, help with one workload, outside of your team or maybe inside of your team. And you will just, have the opportunity and something that you don't know about, you will be trained on it or you'll be given the opportunity to know about it. And maybe it's just like a maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, project and you do that. And that is already part of your CV. And the way you grow, is usually exponential. I when I first started at Google, one of my managers told me that we want you to onboard. There's this, and this is exactly what I was saying. There was a new kind of technology around our smart analytics team that just came around, and they want to kind of have someone or a group of people who will be interfacing with customers around that tool. So it's not something that is really known, but we're just kind of onboarding that tool into our own portfolio of tools. And I just got the opportunity from my manager and said, "Hey, you can. Are you interested in this?" And I said yes. And within a space of 1 to 2 months, I've already kind of onboarded. I was already a champion. And before you know it, I was already speaking with partners and speaking with the audience, speaking on a very large stage. And this was me like 2 months, 3 months ago. I know nothing about this tool. So the speed at which you can quickly onboard on things. Now, the point I want to make is the manager made one thing, and she said, if there's anything that you should worry about, it is presenting to folks around Google, because people at Google are very smart people. So if you can conquer, speaking with them, demonstrating what you know to them, forget about anything that is outside, because you already conquered the world with those folks at Google. And I know, I mean, that's kind of an encouragement in some ways, but I think it's true because you look at a lot of your colleagues. People have PhDs in mathematics, in engineering, and people have some people didn't even go to school. In fact, that's one of the things that wow you. Some people didn't even go to university, and then you're working alongside them. They're working alongside people that have PhDs, that have double masters, and you're like, hey, where do I fit in? So no matter where you are on the spectrum in terms of education, as long as your knowledge is very good in terms of at par with what the rest of your colleagues know, I think you definitely have a space at Google. So for me, that's the main thing. The opportunity to always learn, the opportunity to always be out there, update your knowledge is crucial, and that's one of those major things I love at Google. Also, the environment is cool. You have a lot of very I would say people that are really exposed to how things are done in terms of um you know there's no, like, people don't kind of give you bottlenecks or hinder you. People are always really ready to kind of give you, ask one question before the next 1 hour. People have already showered you with like a lot of answers. And when an organization gives you like those kind of opportunities, it's always like fascinating to work there and grow. You also always eager to kind of contribute as well, which means you have to learn before you can contribute. So it's a cycle that kind of, whichever way you look at it, it always helps you to grow. So that's one major thing I love about working at Google.
Wow. I was reading your post the other day. You were sharing about the fact that I think you traveled to a different country and then you could
Yeah.
work at the Google office there. And I just think that's really impressive. The fact that you can literally
Oh,
go to any country in the world and walk into a Google office and just work from there.
yeah, by my counting now, I probably would have been to about 6 or 7 Google offices, and I intend to really do so more. The last week or last 2 weeks, I was in the US, and I made sure I was in both our Pittsburgh office and the Chicago office. So I tried to do that a lot, and it's just the experience. And the funny thing is, you don't necessarily have to tell someone ahead of time that, hey, I'm coming or something. Just go in, swipe your badge. You're already inside the building. I mean, my badge that works in the UK works virtually everywhere around the world. I mean, so there's no restriction. I was in Lithuania earlier this year, and I just went in, I swiped my badge. It's in. When I go to Lisbon, because Lisbon is my second home, whenever I go to Lisbon, I work from the Lisbon office. Like I just swipe my badge and get in. So it's easy. And even that's to tell you that from the top of from the very top level, the restriction of, oh yeah, you work in this, don't come here. Don't, no, it's not there. That barrier is broken, and it cascades down to like virtually everything we do. And we collaborate a lot. There was a project that I had last year. I was collaborating with some people in different offices around the world. Last year, when I went to Dublin, and I worked from about at 3 offices in the Dublin headquarters, I actually got to meet some of those people that I've been working with for the past 1 year that I've never seen face to face. So it just makes that collaboration so easy. I mean, it's one of those perks of working at Google.
Wow, amazing, amazing. And you were also talking about no bottlenecks. People can just work with you freely. And I think that's really nice because sometimes you work in
Yeah,
companies as a data person, you need access to
yeah,
data to get your job done.
yeah,
So if you work in a
yeah.
company where people are like, let me use the word landlords over the data and they are gatekeepers and they don't want you to have access to it, it's
Yeah,
a really big problem. So that's
I
really
know yeah, I know what it means to have data. Maybe that's one part I didn't explain. I know what it means to have bottlenecks in accessing, data or collaboration with people that are just around, just miles across the pond that you could easily interact with, but because of processes and, restrictions, you're not able to do that. I mean, at Google, there is nothing like that. First is collaboration is encouraged or actually rewarded because there are people that work cross geography that, based on the kind of extent of the work they do, despite the, daytime kind of differences in time zones, they even get more rewarded because of regardless of the, the problems or the obstacles, they kind of go above and beyond to get things done. So yeah, it's really an amazing thing.
nice. We'll spend a lot of time talking about Google. So maybe I ask one final question because I really also want to
Yeah,
understand your journey. You've been at Microsoft. I was reading your profile. I took time to read through your whole. So if you see me on your LinkedIn, I've been there a lot of times. You've been at Microsoft. You've been at
yeah,
Google. You've been at
yeah,
KPMG.
yeah.
Now, getting into those places, I'm sure you probably know it's not like a walk in the park. How do you advise someone who sees this as a dream? I want to be like in a top company. I want to work as a data scientist or as a data analyst in
Yeah.
Microsoft, in Google. How do you get yourself ready? How do you stand out basically? If you would advise someone, you've done it over and over again. So I'm sure you have the tips.
Yeah, and I mean, for a lot of people, maybe this may work, and maybe for a lot of people, maybe this may not work. And one thing I want to also caution is people see the success stories. People don't usually see those things. And that's why, for me, I freely share my story and my journey, just so that people know that for some people, and this is for maybe a good number of people out there, it's a walk in the park. People are just extraordinarily good that they're good at interviews, they're good at what they do, they're good at like applying strategically, so everything kind of aligns for them and they get the job like easily.
Mm,
But for someone like me who probably has gone through maybe a number of things, and maybe, I mean, using mine as a template might work for a number of people because if I had it hard or tough and you can kind of learn from my experiences, you probably would have it easy. But one thing I would say is knowing exactly what the role requires is a fundamental that you have to. It's something that you have to have in your check mark. Like, yes, you know exactly what this role requires. And then also having an idea of how to interview, especially for those roles. And that's one of the things I also like about Google. Even though it's very, very difficult, it's one of the most difficult things to achieve in one's career to work in a company like Google. The percentage, the last time I checked online, and this is not official, this is just, newsletters and things like that I see all on the internet. It takes about, Google gets in about maybe less than 2% of the people that apply that actually join Go, which is way lower than the 5 to 6% of people that apply to Harvard that actually get in to Harvard eventually. So I know it's a very, very tough one. Saying that you want to get into Google, less than 3% of people that apply actually get in. And I see that from my own journey as well. I applied to all my applications to Google will probably take about 30 of them, yeah, before I eventually got it. So I started applying since 2017 when I went to Web Summit and I got to meet a Google engineer and I spoke with the person for about just 15 minutes and he told me, if you want to work at Google, go and learn about cloud, learn about Kubernetes, learn about, AI. And then for the next 1 year, I spent that 1 year to learn about 17 courses on Coursera, and that's about 5 specializations. It was relatively easy because then I was doing my master's degree and it was just like 1 month or 2 months into my master's. But I knew what I wanted to do because I knew it's going to be a journey. But because of that singular 15 minutes call that I had with the person, I was able to map my journey. Like, okay, if I learn this, these are some of the things that these roles require. It's even, I should even mention that the guy that I was mentioned that I was talking about was his role was the role that I'm currently in now. He was a smart analytics customer engineer at that time as well.
Amazing.
So I got to meet him. He gave me like some ideas. I followed through that idea. So I didn't sit on that. I just followed through with them, learned so much, and I started interviewing. But even at that, I still had to go through a lot. So after the first 1 year, I worked in Portugal with like a data consulting company. So I worked there for about 2.5 years. And all through that period, I've applied to Google about 12 times. And after 2 years, which is the first time in 2019, around June, I got a call. Finally, I got a call from Google that, hey, we've got your CV. We know you've been bothering us like for a while. Now it's time to come and interview. I did my interview. I did the first stage, second stage, third stage. The fourth stage, I was not successful. That means the end of the interview at that time. So, but I didn't stop there. After then, I joined Microsoft and I worked at Microsoft for about 1.5 years. Before eventually there are some roles that were available. I kept applying. And the time I applied at the role that I was eventually accepted, I counted it and it was the 29th application. So, I mean, for some people, it's a walk in the park, like I mentioned. But for someone like me, you have to be consistent, knowing exactly what you want. A lot of times, getting that final opportunity is all about, being consistent and, knowing that it's not all about you. Sometimes a role might be out there. You may just be like maybe 2 or 3 days late in your application. And maybe they have already chosen someone that is not even as qualified as you, but just because they have to quickly close a round of application, you may not be there. So I don't blame myself. I just keep doing and doing it. It might interest you to know that, when I eventually got the call in 2021, the notes that I had in 2019, I went back to my archive. I brought them out, all those things that was useful because it's like almost the same thing. So I used them and it was really so. But I did again. One major thing is I learned from my mistake. I remember there was a time after the third interview in 2021, I requested to have like a 2 months break just so that I can go through all the courses that I know that, if I know those things and it's fresh in my memory, I can easily use it to pass my interview. So I requested for that 2 months. Again, it was around the time of summer, so it was quite easy for me to have that time. So it's a lot of things, but preparation and knowing exactly how to interview for that role is really important. And Google makes a good, video around, and a lot of people also do videos around how to interview at Google. So I would encourage people to do that.
Wow, amazing. I really, really respect your tenacity. So 2 episodes before I was just speaking with Anriwaju Iboke. I don't know if you know him. He worked at
Yeah.
Microsoft and his
Yes.
story is just similar to yours. He was also talking about the fact that he wanted to work at Microsoft and to get
Yeah.
there wasn't also like a walk in the park. He had to like do interviews. He had to like
Yeah.
prepare for the
Yeah.
interviews at Microsoft, which was completely
Yeah.
different from just getting
Yeah.
just any job.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
I really do hope that somebody watches this video and sees that, yeah, they should just continue. So maybe I would rewind back. And like I said, you have a very, very impressive CV. And in your opinion, so you shared, for example, that you have a computer science background. In your
Yeah.
opinion, do you think that having that degree, that computer science degree, sort of helped you to really achieve a lot of the things that you achieved? Like, do you think that it would have been impossible if you didn't have that degree from your experience so far?
No, no, not at all. And this is one thing I tell people, especially people from like different backgrounds. I have taken the traditional route, like, yeah, computer science, and I'm always upfront about it. But I'm always upfront about it so that people don't like see it as, okay, yeah, this way or there's no other way. No, I tell about my own journey. I also have a lot of people that have been fortunate to know about their own testimony around, not having anything to do with CS degrees and then, picking it up from the very beginning. And one thing I used to tell people is right now, as we are now, the tech industry is the one with the lowest barrier of entry for anyone from other fields to come in and also be in tech. I will give an example. When I was doing my master's degree, just before we started my master's, my school is so deliberate such that when you apply for a master's degree, especially in data science and advanced analytics, they don't just enroll you. They also give you an interview to see how are you kind of relevant to this course before they finally give you an offer. And it was surprising to see that when I got in, I realized that a number of people in my class don't even have mathematics, or some are business degrees that are just kind of transitioning. But guess what they did? Over a period of time, they have learned a couple of courses on Udemy. They have done some courses that actually help them to understand the fundamentals of data analytics, fundamentals of computer science. So they were able to demonstrate that even though they don't have like a full background, but over a period of time, they probably would have worked in this area, maybe in an area that is a little bit related, or they have done courses that kind of help them to understand the basics that they can really build upon when they start the course. So the same way it is with a master's, I would say is the same way it is with businesses. I would say people that have computer science background are more scared now of every other person, because now anyone can just pick up a boot camp of maybe 3 months, 6 months, and get so well with understanding the technology and how to use them and how to use it to build something, and then be able to kind of compare and compete with the same job that you're applying for. So I would say that it doesn't matter whatever your background is. I think what really matters is how you're able to do. I coach a lot of people. I mentor a number of people that they find themselves in similar roles, like similar things, especially people that are moving from maybe Nigeria coming to the UK and see an opportunity with the roles that are really getting visibility, and employers are really looking for. No one wants to start wasting money on some courses that don't pay, or the opportunities are not there. So, but at some point they hit this roadblock, like, but I don't have this background of CS or computer science or something. And I tell them that it doesn't matter as long as you're ready to learn the fundamentals, which is really, really important. And you're able to keep your head and keep building on top of that. In no time, I mean, give yourself some time, you will be able to compete. And usually it's true. Most of them have jobs now in the tech field, and they're always kind of very grateful for that journey. So yeah, in fact, I should mention that because of the tenacity that people have, they've gathered so much momentum in a very short space of time. They even exceed people that believe they have a CS background. I see a lot of my mates that we graduated together. They've got like this CS degree, but yeah, that's what they do. But people that are now picking up like from the scratch, but because of necessity and because, of course, they want to switch and they can't afford to be unemployed, they're even picking up, and the rate at which they are even going now is way more than some of us that we have like traditional CS background. So I would say it's nothing to worry about. It's definitely something that is doable. People just need to put in the work and know what the journey is, and be comfortable with going through that journey.
Yeah, amazing. I always try to ask people this question because I teach data science at the boot camp here in Berlin. And oftentimes when I go to the classes, I have a sense of the guys who don't have a maybe mathematics background. They see me, I have a mathematics background. They see computer science background. They feel like they are cheated already, or they feel like, oh, I might not be able to achieve as much as you have achieved. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. So I really try to ask everybody, like, please speak with them. And really, really good to hear from you as well. Now, I'm trying to round this up because but I have some questions that I still want to ask. So you've done a lot of things. You've been in a lot of companies. If you would give anybody who's trying to build the same sort of experience that you've had, what advice would you give to the person? If you're probably to your younger self just starting out, what advice would you be like? Don't focus on these things. This is the most important thing you should focus on in data.
One thing I'll tell people is, and this is maybe it has started being maybe my cliche for the past few months, is go deep before going wide. A lot of people, especially people want to learn this, learn that, learn that, learn that, and not just only learning, even on a specific area, people go through like multiple courses at the same time. I would say, be certain of the path that you want to go through before you start that journey. It is really, really important for you to know exactly what path. I'll give you an example. Some people tell me that, oh yeah, they've learned Python. They want to work in data. How do you want to, what should they learn next? And I tell people that, see, Python as you have it, you can use Python for data analysis. You can
Yeah.
use Python for data engineering. You can
Yeah.
use Python for machine learning, deep
Yeah.
learning, AI, even desktop development or
Yeah.
web development, or, all of those things. And there is a different Python module for a number of those things. So if you say, even me that learns Python in school for data analysis and machine learning, when it comes to using data flow or Apache Airflow or Apache Beam, I have to learn a totally different Python, well, almost entirely, because the Python I use for data engineering is so different from the Python that I use for machine learning and your NumPy, your SciPy. It's totally different. So when you even say that you learn Python and you want to now start, what's your next step? I said, no, that is not the way. You have to first understand, what exactly do I want to do? And again, your answer is not a direct, your question is not a direct question in terms of how broad the answer could be. So one thing I tell people is, know exactly what you want to do. There are so many fields in data alone, not even in tech. In data alone, there are so many fields. You can become a data analyst. You can become a data engineer. You can become a data scientist. Know exactly what you want to do. No, now when you know your path, or create a path for yourself, each step of the way, know exactly what to learn. I have helped some people to develop like a pathway for data engineering. What are the first 10 things that you need to learn? And for
Mm.
each of these 10 things, you start with, okay, beginner, intermediate, advanced. When you think you've covered that, and probably people used to start with SQL, then go to the next one. Okay, maybe you want to learn Python. I mean, for data engineers, then you also pick up a beginner Python, intermediate Python, advanced Python. If you cover that and you think you're good, go to the next one, maybe orchestration, beginner, intermediate. By the time you do this for 3, 4, 5 modules, even you will be confident that there is nothing you want to do that you can't learn on your own. Because with this journey, there's a whole lot of self-learning, self-reflection, a lot of self-reflection to do. So I would say, go deep before going wide, before going everywhere. There is nothing stopping a 5-year data analyst to transition into data engineering, because in their years of data analysis, they have used SQL, they have used Python. So even if they're going to transition, you can self-transition. You can create your own journey in data engineering, and a lot of those things will be easily transferable to data engineering. But if you are just, okay, I want to work in data, then today you learn SQL, tomorrow you learn Power BI, next tomorrow you learn Tableau. Like, you are here and there, and it doesn't really work. Again, it's easy if you're young in your career and you probably want to test things around and see what works. Maybe that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're already getting a little bit older in your career and you probably want to pivot and be certain of what you do, it is better you map out that journey and then follow that path that you have set for yourself. One last thing I'll say around this is, one easy way to find this is, look at the people that you can model and say, oh yeah, that guy is a really good data engineer. Look at
Mm.
what they've done. Some of us now do some courses and put those courses online to say, okay, I've completed this course. I've completed this course. Look at their
Mm.
journey. Look at what they've learned. Look at the certifications they've done. Again, certification is good, but not important. Not so important. I never did any certification on Google Cloud before I joined Google. So it's really important. Yeah, it's really important, but it's not like, the knowledge is important, but the certificate is not
Mhm.
what is important. So yeah, let me just leave it there. And I hope that answers that.
Yeah, amazing. So if your destination is not clear, if you don't set a target, you don't even know how to get there in the first place. And I see that
You'll
that's
just be wandering everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah, yeah, I see. Okay, last question, so I don't keep you here for long. I really just wish we continue this chat. I'm trying to glean as much as possible. But you've been in the field for a long time. You
Yeah.
work at Google. You see all of the advancement that are coming out now and everything. What would be your, if possible, if you can have up to five AI predictions for the next 10 years? So if anybody's watching this video, what would you say? Watch out for this area. Watch out for this.
I would say, okay, one thing I would say is in every area of fields that we work, there will be a lot of AI infusion by default in how we do. First thing is AI is not going to take our jobs, but AI is going to is no, it's not going to take our jobs, but AI is going to make a lot of work easier. That the mundane, the mundane things that we do, like all this, all this all these repetitive tasks that we do, a lot of AI will be infused in it. So I would say in health, definitely, we're already seeing so much in terms of infusion of AI in diagnosis and helping to predict medical imaging. A lot of things would really be done in that area. There's one thing I also know, especially around advances in core AI, not generative AI and large language models, which I'll talk about later. It's around core, all these diseases that we have around. We have tried so many methods in terms of clinical methods. There'll be a lot of acceleration around how AI can help you generate training data, generate test data, or evaluate results, and quickly iterate a lot of processes and get results on time. So I think there'll be a lot of advances in AI and medicine. But the one that is very obvious is, infusion of conversational AI or generative AI in everything we do, whether it's automobile. And I can speak with some of the things I'm doing right now. Maybe it would be good for some of your viewers to also come to London in July, where we'll be having this generative AI with Formula E. Formula E is like the other part of Formula
Electric version
One.
of them.
So Google is partnering with Formula E to create like a demo where you have people come in and try a number of things with using generative AI on large language models. Every model that you have available on Gemini, Google's AI system, and then using it for real life conversation with drivers and other part of the systems of a sports car. So I think in entertainment and in sports, there'll be a lot of large language models infused in those areas. So maybe it's just two or three that I've mentioned. I think those are my big ones. I know core AI and then generative AI. There'll be a lot that'll be happening. I can also speak to retail as well. I know with some of the customers that I work with, I work with a number of retail customers, and one of the things is I see that is making business so easy is being able to just drop the large chunk of your core system and just build on top of that a large language model that external people can just come in and interact with in a secure and efficient way. Like all the things that would take maybe hours or days for representative from the company to respond and make businesses really seamless. We're doing that in seconds now, and it's just crazy how this technology can really help businesses. So I would say definitely in retail, in entertainment and sports. Then for the core AI in medicine, I think there'll be a lot of advancements in those areas.
Wow, amazing. So it seems like if anybody's not thinking in that AI direction, you most likely you're going to struggle at some point.
Yeah, yeah. I
A
would
lot.
say that at least people should have at least a level 101 understanding of how AI works and maybe how generative AI also works. Because that way, even if you're speaking with someone or if you're speaking with a system, you have to have a distinction. You have to know the distinction and then manage your expectation. So that way you're current with the times and you're able to move with the times. But it's a moving train. It's a fast moving train. We can't stop it. We can only try as much as possible when we have that opportunity. to get along, get on board, so we move with the train. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. We'll be left at the station, and we don't want that.
Yeah, sure. We don't want that. I'm seeing that gradually too at work. There's a lot of talk about that. And for me, it's good because I mean, the easier my work can be, the more things we can build that makes our life easier. I think the best. There's a lot of advantage to it. Thank you so much for your time. If we want to connect with you, I'm sure I can put your LinkedIn. Is that okay? I'll put your LinkedIn address. Or is
Yes,
there any
yes.
other
If
connect with?
anyone, yeah, if you want to connect with me, I mean, where you'll find me mostly is on Twitter, on X, on Twitter,
Okay.
and that's just, at Sadeeq Akintola. And if you want to just know more about me, know more about the work I do, you can go to my website, sadeeqakintola.com. Other than that, I mean, Twitter is always where I am. LinkedIn, yeah, maybe sometimes professionally, and, yeah.
But I'm gonna put all of this in the description. So guys, check it out. Really, really just amazing person. I've known him.
But if you want to see me physically, just look at where you have the next data events, whether it's Python or it's data engineering, then you'll see me there physically or live.
Really. Any data event.
Oh yeah. Oh, I do. I do. I mean, one thing I can't joke with. I used to tell my folks, like, if you want to be current around, because one of the things that you can do for yourself, one of the best things you can do for yourself in this data industry is, being current. I just came from the PyCon US last week, and since I came, I can tell you I've watched about maybe 5 or 6 videos around the subjects that was discussed that I believe that I'm not really up to date. I'm not current in that. And then I got the sense that I'm not current in that event. So one of the ways you can measure yourself with your peers is, you have to attend events. I've been to PyCon Lithuania this year. Last year, I was at PyCon Ireland. The year before, PyCon London. So a lot of this Python or data engineering event. Last year, I was actually meant to go to Airflow Summit. I hope I would attend this year. I mean, these are events that when you go, you meet committers, you meet top developers in those conferences. They organize tutorials, they organize workshops, they organize talks. And for someone like me that is also kind of relevant, sometimes I also give some talks, and it's a give and take thing. The best place you can physically meet people, then I've not even mentioned Google developer groups events like GDG
Yeah.
events. These are places where whatever technology that you're learning, you have
Mm,
to be at least. I tell people that at least 2 within your local environment.
yeah.
One, maybe national, maybe 3 within your local environment in a year, maybe 2 within your state or your country, and then at least 1 international. So I've been to the US this year for PyCon, so maybe I've checked that one box. I've
Yeah.
been to a local one within Europe. I've been to Lithuania this year. Hopefully, I'll be able to attend EuroPython as well. These things, they are the ones that kind of shape your, like, what's the next big thing? What should you be
Mm,
preparing for next year? You
mm.
can be writing, you can be also blogging, you can be posting, contributing to open source while gaining those things, at those events, because you see a lot of people that are doing that as well. So it's really, really important. Events, physical events, you usually see me there.
Amazing. I didn't know that you were this committed to event. I attended some events last year, and I
No,
can relate what you said. Not even last year, was in April. It was for
yeah.
data leaders here in Berlin, and because
Oh
I
wow.
lead a team as well myself,
Yeah.
I saw that the challenges I was passing through wasn't just me. And
Hmm.
that just blew my mind. It was an amazing evening. And I can also just talk about events. They just change your thinking perspective. You see what
Yeah.
people are doing, and it's really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to put
Definitely.
all your details
Definitely.
in the description. So guys, check out Sadeeq and follow him. Amazing person in data space, and absolutely a pleasure to have you. Thank you very, very much for honoring my invitation and coming to speak with everyone. Really, thank you so much. And have a great evening.
Thank you
Thank you
so much
so
for
much.
having me. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.